On October 21st, 2024, a 15-year-old called 911, claiming his younger brother had just murdered his entire family. His story? The kid snapped after getting busted for watching inappropriate content online. Did he really expect people to believe that?
The RP's now saying that the brother had shot at all the other family members.
The truth that emerged was way darker. Within minutes, his 11-year-old sister, bleeding from gunshot wounds, showed up at a neighbor's door, telling a completely different story. She'd survived by playing dead, while her older brother, not the younger one, systematically executed their family. And that thing about inappropriate content being the trigger, that was just the latest lie in what investigators would discover was a much longer, darker story of premeditation. This is the shocking story of the Humiston family massacre. At 5 a.m. on October 21st, 2024, everything changed in Falls City, Washington. The suburban peace was shattered by back-to-back 911 calls that would expose something beyond horrific. What emergency responders found at the Humiston family's lakeside mansion wasn't just a crime scene. It was a wake-up call about how deadly serious mental health issues can get when nobody's paying attention. The first call was suspicious from the start. A 15-year-old boy breathing heavily told dispatchers that his 13-year-old brother had just gone on a killing spree, murdering their whole family before taking himself out.
4 days after a 15-year-old boy allegedly killed 5 of his family members inside their home, court documents reveal a harrowing aftermath. Police say the suspect called 911 out of breath and claimed that it was his 13-year-old brother, Benjamin Humiston, who had, quote, just shot my whole family and committed suicide too.
He claimed he was hiding in the bathroom on the main floor, saying his brother lost it after getting caught doing something inappropriate online the night before. The whole story seemed off. Listen to the dispatcher talking to the police right after the call.
The RP's now saying that the brother had shot at all the other family members.
Yeah, she wasn't buying it, and for good reason. Minutes later, everything got flipped when a second 911 call came in. A neighbor was freaking out because an 11-year-old girl had just shown up at their door, literally bleeding from gunshot wounds to her neck and hand. Through all the trauma, she told the real truth. The shooter wasn't her 13-year-old brother at all. It was that same 15-year-old who had just made a call, acting all innocent. This little girl, she managed to survive by playing dead, holding her breath while her older brother stood over her bed, checking if she was alive. The second he left the room, she forced herself to climb out of a window and run for help, bleeding the whole way. Even if she died, she thought, she wanted her cruel brother to face the consequences of his actions. Someone needed to know the truth.
The sister who went to the neighbor's house is now saying that our caller is the one who was the shooter and was alive when she left the house.
When the police arrived at the scene, they found 5 members of the Humiston family dead. Parents, Mark and Jennifer, along with 3 of their children, 13-year-old Benjamin, 9-year-old Joshua, and 7-year-old Catherine. The 15-year-old suspect was arrested in the driveway. What investigators pieced together from the crime scene revealed a horrifying level of premeditation and attempted deception. The way this 15-year-old tried to set up the crime scene was next level disturbing. He tried to frame his dead 13-year-old brother Benjamin by placing their dad's Glock in the kid's left hand, laying it on his chest like Benjamin had done the unthinkable and ended himself. Luckily, the forensics team exposed everything. As it goes with many teen killers, they think that they are much smarter than they really are. For starters, there wasn't even a single drop of blood spatter on Benjamin's hand or the gun. If he had actually offed himself, that hand would have been covered. But it gets even more messed up. The medical examiner found that Benjamin had been shot in the head twice, and the science behind these shots completely destroyed Big Bro's story.
If we just had the stippling injury, it would be a whole lot harder to tell, because you can get stippling from shooting yourself 6 inches away. But that distance wound that has no powder tattooing, no stippling, means that this was fired from a greater distance than he would be capable of.
The first bullet, 0 gunpowder residue around the wound, meaning whoever pulled that trigger was standing more than 2 feet away. And the second shot came from somewhere between 6 and 24 inches away. Also, who could ever fire twice into their own head? The forensic expert had a simple conclusion. There was no way Benjamin could have physically done this to himself from those distances. The 11-year-old survivor's story helped investigators piece together the actual nightmare that went down. She and her baby sister Catherine, just 7 years old, were sleeping in their room when the gunshots started popping off. When she looked into the hallway, she saw something no kid should ever have to see. Her brother Joshua and her dad just lying there, not moving. Then little Catherine, probably scared and confused, got up to check what was happening. That's when the 15-year-old shot her too. When he came into their room next, he shot his 11-year-old sister, but she had the incredible strength to play dead, even with bullets in her body.
And I'll be honest with you, Anjanette, I've seen a lot of homicides in my career, but this one is up in the top 5 as taking the cake. This is 5 deaths. The parents, 3 siblings, and a 4th sibling, through the grace of God, survived. We don't see these very often.
The way he carried out this attack was terrifying because of how planned out it seemed. The investigators figured out he probably went for the parents first because they were the biggest threat. They could have stopped him. Their dad, Mark, caught 4 bullets, shoulder, armpit, and lower back. And the way the shots lined up showed he was trying to run when it happened. Their mom, Jennifer, got shot once, somehow made it to the master bedroom and locked herself in, but this kid broke down the door to get to her and shot her again. The detectives found the empty bullet casing in the bathroom sink. The messed up part? On the outside, no one saw this coming. There were barely any red flags that people could spot.
Your Honor, Mr. is now in the courtroom in custody.
In court Friday, defense attorney for the 15-year-old accused of killing 5 of his family members told the judge community members who know the defendant have reached out, speaking of his good character.
He's been described as kind and caring, someone who has friends, who engages in pro-social activities, someone who's been a positive contributor to his community.
These kids were all homeschooled, and everyone in the neighborhood thought that they were the perfect American family.
The murders have shocked the community, including Rhea Robertson, 9-year-old Joshua Humiston's soccer coach.
You're always smiling. All of the kids were always smiling.
She said the family was at every game with no sign of trouble at home.
Not at all. It's... yeah, I just can't even...
Their dad, Mark, was big time at this engineering firm in Seattle. And when this happened, his company dropped this statement about being completely blindsided and heartbroken, talking about how Mark was this amazing leader whose vision was crucial to the company.
We are blindsided and saddened by the tragic events that have led to the loss of a respected colleague, mentor, and friend, as well as the loss of immediate family members. Mark's leadership and vision were integral within our firm, and he will be greatly missed.
Like, how does someone go from having this picture-perfect family life to doing something this horrific? But when investigators started digging deeper, the whole perfect family image started giving off major red flags. The surviving sister had a lot of things to say about what was really going down before everything happened. Her brother had been caught failing tests, and not just like regular failing, but the kind that got him in deep trouble. But here's the thing that had everyone shaken. Their dad kept his Glock in this silver lockbox near the front door. And out of all of the kids, guess who was the only one who knew the code? Yeah, the 15-year-old. Why did he even have this information? The whole situation has people asking some real questions about how we might be missing the signs when kids are struggling with their mental health, especially in homeschool situations. Don't get me wrong, homeschooling itself is not the problem. But think about it, when you're not in regular school, there aren't teachers watching you every day. No counselors checking in, no friends seeing your social, or noticing when you're acting different. In normal school, if someone starts showing signs that they're not okay, there's a whole squad of people who might catch it and try to help. But when you're homeschooled, those extra set of eyes just aren't there. And some kids might be going through it with nobody realizing until it's way too late.
Now, during today's hearing, no plea was entered. Prosecutors instead made the formal request to have this case heard in adult court instead of at the Juvenile Justice Center.
This 15-year-old is now facing 5 counts of aggravated murder plus 1 count of attempted murder in juvenile court. But the prosecutors aren't playing. They want this case moved to adult court because of how serious these charges are. If he gets tried as an adult, we're talking potentially decades behind bars, maybe his whole life. His defense lawyers are trying to paint a different picture though, talking about how he was just a normal kid who was into mountain biking and fishing with zero criminal record. His age is the reason his name and face are still protected from the public. The lawyers keep reminding everyone that these are just allegations and that legally he's innocent until proven guilty. But after everything that went down, that's gonna be a hard sell. The decision about whether to try him as an adult isn't expected until June 2025. If convicted as an adult, he could face 25 years to life in prison, though he cannot be sentenced to life without parole since he was under 18 at the time of these alleged crimes. Legal experts note that his defense team will likely pursue a psychological evaluation looking for any undiagnosed conditions that might have contributed to the tragedy. The role of firearm access in this case has also sparked a lot of discussion. While the father had taken precautions by keeping the gun in a locked box, the fact that his teenage son knew the combination highlights the importance of strictly controlling access to weapons, especially when there are early warning signs of emotional or behavioral issues. Here's the brutal reality.
We don't see these very often. Now, granted, we do see plenty of child deaths where the leading cause is by firearm. In fact, I think just this year alone, we're not even at the end of the year, there have been 1,100 child deaths because of firearms. And I believe there's been over 450 mass shootings. So the real question is, why is this happening?
Yeah, maybe having firearms in a house with children is not the best idea, nor is giving kids access to them. When people say, I need a gun for protection, they think they're buying safety. But here's what often goes down instead. Someone hears a noise at night, their anxiety kicks in, and suddenly their neighbor checking on their house becomes a threat that ends in tragedy. That's already messed up, but when kids or teens can access these weapons, the risk goes astronomical. A teen having a bad day, a kid being curious, or someone going through it mentally, if they know where that gun is or how to get access to it, what was bought for protection can turn your home into a danger zone. Speaking of going through it mentally, this case serves as a stark reminder that mental health struggles in young people can sometimes fly under the radar, especially when appearances suggest that everything is fine. Warning signs might be subtle: declining academic performance, withdrawal from activities, changes in behavior or mood, or expressing thoughts of violence. While these signs don't necessarily mean someone will become violent, they should never be ignored. This 15-year-old's loved ones will forever be left wondering what they missed and what they could have done to prevent this tragedy. And also, let's pause for a second and talk about how next level this 11-year-old girl's survival instincts were. Playing dead while bleeding from a gunshot wound and then somehow finding the strength to escape? That's the only reason she didn't become victim number 6. But now she's facing a whole different kind of battle. No parents, no siblings around her, and dealing with both physical and emotional trauma that's beyond what most of us could even imagine. Her story shows both how destructive family violence can be and how incredibly strong survivors have to be just to make it through. While everyone's focused on the court case, we need to address some seriously uncomfortable questions. Like, why are we dropping the ball so hard when it comes to supporting young people's mental health? Why aren't parents and communities catching the warning signs? And what do we need to do differently so that these kinds of tragedies don't happen again? Because yeah, maybe all the specific things that led to this massacre don't happen every day, but the underlying problem, young people struggling with their mental health and nobody noticing or doing anything about it, that's everywhere. The cost of missing these signs doesn't get more devastating than this. 5 people who should be alive right now aren't. Parents who will never get to see their kids grow up, kids who will never get to experience what life has to offer, and an entire community that's left asking, how did we not see this coming?
It's created a shadow over our town.
You've got one child who's going to spend her whole life processing the trauma of surviving her own brother's attack. And then there's that same brother whose future is now in the hands of the justice system. And everyone is left wondering, what if someone had noticed something earlier? And what if someone had done something different? This whole situation is screaming at us that mental health support isn't just about helping one person. It's about protecting everyone around them too. It's on all of us to actually pay attention to the young people in our lives. lives, to take it seriously when something seems off, and to make sure that there is help when someone needs it. Because if the Humiston family tragedy shows us anything, it's that the price of failing at this is way too high. The path forward, it's going to be rough for everyone involved. The surviving sister has to somehow build a life without her parents or siblings around her, carrying scars both inside and out. The Falls City community has to process how something so dark could come from what looked like the perfect family. And all of us, we've got to face some hard questions about mental health support, gun access, and how we can stop young people from reaching these kinds of breaking points. As this whole thing plays out in court, we can't forget that behind all the legal stuff are real lives that got completely destroyed by something that maybe didn't need to happen. It's challenging all of us to do better at spotting when young people are struggling with their mental health before things turn violent. The Humiston family, both those who died and those who live with what had happened, deserve at least that much from us. Hey, thanks a bunch for tuning in. What are your thoughts about homeschooling and firearms in a house with children? Do you know any other similar family massacres? Leave a thoughtful comment down below, and before you go, make sure you like and subscribe. All right, catch you soon.
His mother holding her newborn baby, cautioning her teen son not to run. He asks her in Spanish why she always tells him not to run.
This chilling footage shows an interaction between mother and son that would lead to brutal murder.
Garcia was found at the foot of her bed, suffering from multiple stab wounds to the neck. Her newborn daughter lay just inches away in her crib unharmed.
13-year-old Derek Rosa seemed like a normal teenager. He was a polite and respectful honor student who never got into any trouble. But there was something evil lurking inside him that no one saw coming until it was too late.
You killed her? All right. What type of knife was it? Do you know?
It was just a big size kitchen knife.
That big?
Yeah.
His crime left everyone completely horrified, but what he did after the murder was even more shocking. The details in this case are pretty disturbing, but to understand how everything happened, we need to go back to the beginning. Everyone who knew 39-year-old Irina Garcia said that she was a caring and devoted mom who would have done anything for her children. Her firstborn child, Derek Rosa, was born sometime in 2010. According to family members, he was a good, affectionate, and polite boy who did well in school and was respectful to others. It's not clear when Derek's dad, Jose Rosa, left the picture or if he was involved in his son's life. At some point in 2020, Irina decided to give love a second chance and got remarried to Frank Ramos, who worked as a truck driver. Soon she found out she was pregnant and was excited to become a mom for the second time. At the time, Derek was 12 years old, and being the only child for so long, he didn't seem to mind getting a new sibling. This cute picture shows him and his stepdad wearing matching outfits and lovingly cradling Irina's baby bump. They all seemed happy and excited about the new baby, and nothing seems off. Neighbors also didn't notice anything weird with the family. They all seemed to get along, and Derek would often be seen helping his mom carry packages and shopping bags inside the house. In September 2023, Irina gave birth to her new daughter, and everyone in the home was happy to welcome the new baby. But just 2 weeks later, on October 12, 2023, the emergency services in Miami, Florida, received a distressing call from Derek, reporting that his mom was dead. But this is what shocked the dispatcher the most, when the 13-year-old admitted that he was the one who took his mom's life.
I need to know if your mom is breathing.
She said, miss.
Okay, and why did you do that?
There's blood all over the floor.
I need to know, do you think we can help your mom?
Miss, she's dead.
With a voice half calm, half in distress, Derek told the dispatcher that he had used a knife to attack his mom. He also said that he was considering taking his stepfather's gun and using it on himself, though he could not go through with it.
I was gonna shoot myself, but I didn't want to.
Where is the gun right now?
It's in the living room. I loaded it. I pulled back the slide, but I did not shoot.
Then he asked something that left the dispatcher in disbelief.
I took pictures and I told my friends about it. Was that bad?
You told who about it?
My friends.
Yeah, he actually took pictures of his dead mother and sent them to a friend. Here is one of the pictures that he sent. You can actually see red stains on his hands after he had just murdered his mother. How sick is that? Officers were sent to the apartment around 11:30 p.m., and what they found would haunt them for a very long time. Footage from the doorbell camera captured the moment police arrived at the scene. Derek can be seen on the phone, still talking to the dispatcher. He asks her if he can leave the house, and the dispatcher tells him to stay put. In the background, a group of officers is seen arriving in the parking lot as red and blue lights swirl around them. Police say that Derek was very polite and apologetic when talking to the emergency dispatcher and the responding officers. The scene in Irina's bedroom could only be described as one straight out of a horror movie. There were red splatters everywhere, including on the walls and ceiling, and right in the middle of it was Irina's lifeless body lying in a red puddle on the floor. She had suffered from multiple jab wounds to the neck. Her 14-day-old baby was lying in a crib next to her, unharmed and oblivious to the horror that had just taken place. Police later released gruesome crime scene photos, including a red-stained knife with a pink handle and a broken tip.
Police say the life of 39-year-old Irina Garcia was taken just 14 days after she had given birth to a baby girl.
This is heartbreaking. I never would have imagined something like this, a 13-year-old child taking his mother's life. It's a very sad story.
Garcia was stabbed to death inside her second-floor Hialeah apartment.
Yesterday around 11:30 at night, Hialeah police received a phone call from a 13-year-old male, a juvenile, stating that he had just murdered his mother.
Police say they found Garcia's body in the bedroom and her newborn baby in a crib near her. The baby was not injured. Police say they do not know why the teen killed his mother.
He did not say why he did this. All he did was call 911 and advise what he did.
The news of the gruesome murder shook the entire community, with many wondering what they had missed. How could the polite and respectful boy that they knew and loved do something so cold and evil to his own mother?
He was part of a normal family. I never saw any arguing or police there. This is very calm here. This is the first time something like this happened. This was the first time I saw police here.
Right now, what we're understanding is that no, there is no other calls. We're hearing from family that he was a good kid, honor roll student at school. There's no history of mental health. So right now, we're just trying to figure out why he did this.
At the time, Derek was in 8th grade at I Matter Academy Middle School. The principal released a statement saying, "We are deeply saddened by this tragic event. Our hearts and prayers go to the family involved during this incredibly difficult time." Derek's stepdad was out of town when the incident happened. When he returned, his whole life had been turned upside down. He was now a single dad to a baby who will never know her mother. And his stepson, whom he loved and treated as his own, had taken away the person he loved the most. He was not only shocked at what had happened, but in disbelief that Derek could have done this. No one thought he was capable of such level of violence. In fact, some family members, including Derek's biological dad, Jose, believed he was innocent. One family member told reporters, "Derek is a sweetheart. No one knows him like we do. This is unlike him. He is not an adult. He is a child that likes to play." The family would even start a petition on change.org called Save Derek Rosa. This petition reads, "I plead for justice for this beautiful young man who looks innocent only because he is innocent. Please help him. God bless this young man and justice for Derek." The petition was signed by thousands of people who were mostly mothers and grandmothers, saying that he is just a child. But the prosecution believed that Derek was evil and should be locked up for good.
Cell phone video shows the moment a teenage boy surrendered with his hands up. Just minutes earlier, police say he called 911 and confessed to killing his mother.
His demeanor, he was very quiet, apologetic, very respectful. Not what you would expect walking into that home and seeing that crime scene.
Initially, Derek was charged as a juvenile with second-degree murder, but that charge changed when the prosecution reviewed all the evidence against him. This is one of the footage released by the police showing an interaction between Derek and his mother hours before he brutally murdered her. In the footage, Derek can be seen opening the apartment's door, while Irina is seated in a nearby chair holding her newborn baby. The two are speaking in Spanish, and it seems like a normal mother-son conversation. Irina apparently asks Derek not to run around the house, and he asks, "Why do you always tell me don't run?" Another footage captured by the baby monitor shows Irina in her bedroom holding her newborn daughter. Moments later, Derek is seen standing over his mother with a knife in his hands.
At 10:23 p.m. on October 12th, a baby monitor captures Garcia cradling her newborn baby. The intimate moment turned violent at 11 o'clock. Police say this is Rosa leaning over his mom.
Derek's interrogation video was also released to the public. In the video, he confessed to detectives that he waited until his mom fell asleep before attacking her with a big kitchen knife.
You killed her? All right. What type of knife was it? Do you know?
It was just a big size kitchen knife.
That big?
Yeah.
What color was the handle?
Purple.
Purple?
Yes.
Okay. Your mom was sleeping?
Yeah, she was sleeping.
Okay.
After taking his mom's life, he claimed that he went to the closet and grabbed one of his stepdad's guns with plans of using it on himself.
My stepdad he owns 2 guns. He has a Glock 19.
Okay.
And then, I don't know what it's called, another one.
Okay. What color are they?
The Glock 19 is black, and then the other one has a silver slide and then like a dark bluish handle. I grabbed the gun, I put the magazine in the gun, I pulled back the slide, but I didn't want to shoot myself.
Okay.
I intended to shoot myself before, but I couldn't.
He said that he was unsure whether he would go through with his plan, so he called an online friend called Sweden to say goodbye.
You called him before you decided to try to shoot yourself or afterwards?
After.
Okay. How many friends did you call?
Only one.
What's his name?
I don't know his real name. He's an online friend.
He's an online friend?
Yeah.
When you say online friend, what do you mean, from video games?
Yes, from video games. I know him real well.
Okay. How long have you known him?
Since I was 10, 3 years.
3 years? Have you ever met him?
No, I've seen the face.
You seen his face?
Yeah.
So how did you communicate with him?
My cell phone.
Through your cell phone, so you have his number?
Yes.
And you don't have him stored under a certain name, or you have him stored under a gamer tag?
I have him. I made up a name for him.
You made up a name for him?
Yeah.
What name did you make up for him?
Sweden.
Sweden?
Sweden. SWEEDEN.
Okay.
Then, for some sick, twisted reason, he sent his friend 3 pictures, 2 of his dead mother and a selfie.
What did he tell you?
He said he couldn't believe it.
Okay. Does Sweden live down here in Florida?
He lives real far.
Real far?
Yeah. In America, though.
In America?
Yeah.
He said that he again thought about harming himself, but decided to call 911 instead. He told detectives that his newborn half-sister was asleep throughout the whole ordeal.
Did you ever make your way to your sister?
Killing her?
No.
Touching her?
Touching her?
No.
No?
I left her alone. She was sleeping and she didn't wake up, so I didn't touch her.
Okay.
The detective then asked him where he cut his mother. The audio is muted, but you can see him pointing to his neck as he answers the question. He told detectives that his mother was screaming during the horrific attack. Can you imagine waking up to find someone you love attacking you for no reason? That is just heartbreaking.
And then she woke up?
Yes.
Did you say anything else to her? Or did she say anything to you or no?
No, she just screamed.
She just screamed.
Yes.
An autopsy later revealed that Irina had suffered from over 40 knife wounds. During the interrogation, the detectives noted that he had red stains in his clothes, and he admitted that they were the same ones he was wearing when he committed the crime. Then the detective asked the question that everyone has been asking. Why? But instead of giving a straight answer, Derek started deflecting and asked to go to the bathroom. And when he came back, he asked for a lawyer.
Can you go to the bathroom before I answer that?
Yes, of course.
So you were about to tell me the why. Why did you kill your mother? Do you know?
I have to say it now.
Yeah, get it off your chest. Absolutely.
You can wait for a lawyer.
Okay, at this point, you want a lawyer?
Maybe not.
We can't. No, listen. Just so you understand, okay? You have mentioned or asked us, should you wait for a lawyer? We're not here to advise you on whether to talk to a lawyer or not. That decision is yours, okay? But if you are requesting a lawyer at this point, we can't interview you any further. You understand? We have to stop the interview.
Okay.
Do you want us to stop the interview?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of things have been reduced from this interrogation video, but in a chilling audio, which was later played in court, Derek could be heard describing in horrific detail how he committed the gruesome crime.
I woke up, went to the kitchen, I grabbed one of the kitchen knives, and then I went to our room, and then I ate. It's okay, you guys are right.
Prosecution revealed that this was not an impulsive act carried out in the heat of the moment. No, it was cold and calculated. Derek had reportedly made several disturbing searches on his phone, including the best place to jab someone.
He typed in the word, the carotid artery image diagram. What is the best place to someone? Is a small knife good for killing?
With this amount of evidence, Derek was indicted as an adult with a first-degree murder charge. He was then transferred to an adult jail.
13-year-old Derek Rosa, who called 911 2 weeks ago after allegedly stabbing his mother to death, is now being charged as an adult. As you mentioned, he did have a hearing earlier today. He wasn't physically present, but we can take you to video so you can see for yourself. Now, he is now facing one charge of first-degree murder as an adult. The family requested he be transferred back to the juvenile detention center, but pending review, he is being taken to Metro West, which is an adult prison facility.
And here's where things get a little bit complicated. Despite the gruesome nature of his crimes, many people are still defending him. The judge presiding over his case received over 20 letters from various people, including the stepdad, who pleaded for leniency. He wrote in his letter, "I, Frank Ramos, stepfather of Derek Rosa, have been living with him since March of 2020. He has been a kid, very loved by his entire family, and his behavior has been very good. His mom would go out of her way for him. She took care of him with a lot of love and affection. They loved each other a lot, the same as me. I had him as if he were my son. We got along very well. It does not fit in my head what happened to him to make him do that to his dear mother who loved him. I don't understand, honestly." Derek's biological dad, Jose Rosa, also wrote to the judge describing his son as a respectful honor roll student. He said that Irina's mother helped raise his son and that he was a good kid who was well loved by his friends. He went on to say that he didn't know what led to this incident and that after being in the military for 22 years, he had taught Derek good values. It's hard to explain how this occurred. It's difficult, but I guess we are asking for another opportunity, a second chance to help him grow. Put this behind him and say, "We have your back. We are here to support you." There was even a letter from the school's bus driver who described the teen's behavior as impeccable with the best grades.
The way that they describe him is a loving, a caring, a respectful, a compassionate person that they are proud to have in their family, and they are continuing to stand by his side throughout this process.
While their reasons for supporting Derek are pretty understandable, they can be misinterpreted. Yes, Derek was pretty young when he committed the crime, and some experts have argued that at that age, the brain is not fully formed, and therefore he didn't know any better.
And his brain doesn't have the same hardware as an adult. If you break the brain up into two systems, we have what's called social emotional control, which actually develops much quicker than what we call cognitive control. So if you think of social emotional control as the gas, think of cognitive control as the brakes. So in a child that age, you have the gas without the brakes. And this means that you have a child's brain that's unable to weigh the future consequences of its actions, unable to exercise restraint, unable to weigh the options. That's very emotionally dysregulated, and it's very difficult for them to control their impulses in the same way that an adult does.
But doesn't this set a bad precedent of excusing bad behavior? And this was not a small, excusable mistake like they're trying to make it look. This was a cold-blooded murder. A life was lost, and Derek was the perpetrator. The fact that Derek had taken the time to research on the best way to commit the crime shows that he was fully aware of what he was doing. And the fact that he even sent a friend a picture of his dead mother shows that he was proud of what he did. He knew the consequences of his actions. The judge understood this, and that's why even after receiving all those letters from relatives and other supporters, he still rejected the request to transfer Derek back to a juvenile facility.
We just learned a Miami-Dade judge denied a motion to move 13-year-old Derek Rosa to juvenile detention. The 13-year-old is accused of fatally stabbing his mother, 39-year-old Irina Garcia, in their Hialeah home. Detectives saying she had 46 wounds. Rosa's attorneys argue the teen's rights are being violated by being held at the Metro West Detention Center, but the judge just ruled he will continue to stay there.
In one of the hearings, his dad and grandma appeared on his behalf and pleaded not guilty to the charges. They also begged the judge to give Derek a second chance. They asked the judge to consider house arrest, saying that the teen would live with his dad and grandma and would not be left alone. But the judge dismissed their pleas, saying the hearing was only to determine whether there was probable cause to show if Derek was in fact guilty or believed to be guilty. And after reviewing the evidence, he found there was indeed probable cause and ordered that Derek be held without bond.
Family members showed up from both sides to support the teen. He remains at Metro West Detention Center without a bond. Today, his private attorney again entered a not guilty plea, which is usual normal protocol. However, something not common is that the defendant is a teen. Even though he's charged as an adult, family members are hoping Derek Rosa gets transported from Metro West to the Juvenile Detention Center, where he was earlier last week when he initially was facing just a second-degree charge as a juvie. But of course, the situation changed late last week when he was indicted as an adult. However, the judge wants to hear from both sides before making a ruling on this motion.
As of October 2024, Derek remains locked up at Metro West Detention Center. His trial is anticipated to begin in December 2024. If he is found guilty, he faces up to life in prison. For now, the question remains in everyone's mind. Why did he do it? Did something provoke? Or is he just pure evil? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button.